Good evening, friends. The sun is set, and I'm back with another tale from my collection. Now it's time to grab a snack, dim the lights, and let me take you into the night with a story I call The Sandwich. Rubbing my eyes, I jumped up and went to the front door. The incessant knocking there seemed to eat into my brain, igniting frustration and anger. Reaching for the knob, I jerked it open and stared into the eyes of my friend standing there. "Why are you beating my door down?" I asked, irritated. "You could have just rung the bell." "Come on, dude," he said urgently. "We got to get going." "Go where?" I asked. "I had a vision and I know where to find it," he said, turning away toward the driveway. "Find what?" I asked, bouncing on one leg as I pulled my other shoe on. I grabbed my keys as I headed out the door and pulled it closed behind me. "The sandwich," he said, running to the car. The sandwich. I knew my friend was prone to have visions, as he called them, sudden bursts of intuition after having a dream that inevitably led us to the latest evil we needed to overcome. Every so often he would come find me to help him vanquish some demon or other evil being. How he became attuned to them, I probably will never know. But he was, and for some reason, I was chosen to be his sidekick. I jumped in the car and started it up. Reaching to the mirror, I grabbed one of the crucifix hanging there and put it around my neck. He jumped in the passenger seat beside me and sat forward nervously, tapping on his knees. "We need to head downtown," he said, and then I thought I heard him growl at me. "Did you just growl at me?" I asked, looking over at him questioningly. "Did you get bit by that last werewolf we killed?" "No, man," he said. "I'm just hungry. I fell asleep early this afternoon, and when I woke at dinner time, I had the vision and had to get moving. I'll eat later." I eased the car onto the ramp of the highway that would take us to downtown, flooring the accelerator as we merged into traffic to keep up with the other cars. In no time at all, we were approaching the edges of downtown. Looking at the dash, the radio clock said it was almost midnight, the witching hour. If we were going to hunt a witch, we picked the right time of day to do it. I kept my focus on the road. Even though it was late at night, there was a bit of traffic in the big city and a lot of careless drivers. I kept to the right lane, unsure of when I would be instructed to exit. "Okay, take the next exit and then turn right at the light," he said, and reached into the back seat for his kit bag. He rummaged through it for what he needed. We both kept kit bags in the car with critical supplies we might need to do battle. One night, when we were out on a deserted neighborhood, a couple of police officers pulled us over to see what we were doing there. Aside from the fact that this is America, and we were not required to have a reason for being anywhere, we knew there had been a lot of break-ins, so we're not surprised. They searched the car and found our kit bags. At first, one of the cops was sure they had found their suspects, as he announced finding burglary tools and lifted one of the bags out of the car. Their suspicions turned to laughter as they emptied the contents onto the trunk of the car. They found rosaries, holy water, crosses, wooden stakes, silver letter openers, and all other manner of demon hunter tools, which they found hilarious. We laughed with them when they made fun of us for having Halloween supplies, and breathed a sigh of relief when they overlooked the flat bars and lockpicks. "Okay, slow down and turn off the lights," he said, staring up the block. "Ease it to the curb." I did as he said, and after shifting into park, followed his gaze with my eyes. He seemed to be staring at a sub shop on the corner on the opposite side of the street. I was not surprised. We had found a shapeshifter in a pizza parlor once, so a witch in a sub shop should not be any surprise. "So what do I need to grab for this?" I asked, reaching for my bag. "You shouldn't need anything other than your cross," he said. "I need you to wait here. I'll flash my light in the window of the shop twice when I'm ready for you." With that, he left the car and ran across the street. I watched as he stayed close to the buildings and then ducked down the alley between the shop and a building next to it. Now I could only wait and watch the window of the shop for the sign. I was waiting so long that I started to get sleepy. Then I realized how long it had been and considered he might have run into trouble. This woke me right up, and I reached back to my kit bag. I grabbed a silver letter opener and stuck it in the breast pocket of my jacket. What else would I bring to fight a witch? Garlic and holy water would do no good, and neither would wooden stakes. Well, a wooden stake could be pretty lethal, but a letter opener could do the same job easier. I got out of the car, never taking my eyes from the front of the building, and started to walk down the sidewalk toward the end of the block. When I was across from the alley and still had not seen the sign, I crossed and slipped down the alley. As I came around the corner, I saw a disturbing sign. The back door of the sub shop was standing wide open, and a thin blue beam of light was coming from the door. I slowly crept near the door and peered in from behind a dumpster. I could not see anything, but the blue light seemed to be coming from the temperature display of a stand-up cooler. I moved closer to the door and stood to one side. Peering in, I waited for my eyes to adjust to the dim light. I did not see my friend's pen light moving anywhere, and I could hear nothing other than the sound of the refrigeration equipment. I slipped in and began to explore, staying close to the walls and equipment. As I neared the end of the hallway next to the walk-in cooler, I put my back against the wall and started to peer around the corner. A loud hissing noise erupted, scaring the heck out of me, and I jumped back. It was only a soda fountain pump injecting CO2 to maintain pressure in the soda lines to the dispenser. I paused, waiting for my heart to let itself down out of my throat and settle back into my chest. It was beating like a war drum in deepest, darkest Africa. Still feeling the surge of adrenaline, I looked down and realized I was holding the letter opener, ready to stab something. I put it back in my pocket and once again peered around the corner. Though I could not see anything, not even my friend, I could hear a faint smacking and slurping sound. I moved slowly around the corner toward the sound. In the blackness, I could see a darker shadow at the end of the serving counter moving on the floor. It looked as though someone was crouched at the end of the counter eating something. I crouched low and moved slowly down the wall across the walkway from the serving counter. I figured this was the best way to increase my field of view while keeping my distance as much as possible in these tight quarters. As my view widened, I could see it was my friend there, and he had his back to me. It was him who was eating something long and thin, like an arm. I watched as he gnashed at the thing in his hands, hearing him slurp the juices and the tearing as he ripped bites away. Something wet and glistening dripped to the floor in a puddle between his feet. "Dude, what are you doing?" I whispered. For a moment, I regretted saying anything as he spun around quickly, staring into the darkness at me with wild eyes. His hair was in complete disarray, and I wondered if maybe the witch had cast a spell on him before he dispatched them. "What is that in your hands?" I asked. Thick juices ran down from his chin, and he grinned at me as he reached out holding another long, thin arm toward me. "The sandwich, dude," he said, flipping on his pen light so I could see what he held. The thick liquid dripped to the floor as I reached for it. "I told you I had a vision. They never put enough chipotle on these things for me, and now I'm going to tear this sandwich a new one." Thank you for spending your time with me. Tell me what you think in the comments, and I'll be sure to join the conversation. That's all for now, but I'll be back again soon with another story, just for you. Until then, sleep well.